Since you have started watching this video, 5 people have died from hunger. 3,717 barrels of oil have been consumed, and 28 babies have been born into poverty. By the time I finish this sentence, someone has been sexually assaulted in the United States. Our world is filled with poverty, hunger, injustice, and violence. And although we know these problems exist in the world, we often forget about the struggles that many encounter. However, in viewing these images, we are reminded of the inequities of the world. These photos can awaken us. In a survey I conducted, the following photos inspired almost every participant, regardless of gender, age, or ethnicity, to learn more about the context of the photo, and moreover to stand and do something about the issue at hand. Social documentary photography has the potential to change the lives of millions. However, many critics have declared this type of photography dead. With the introduction of other multimedia options, the decline of the printed paper, and the progress of technology so that everyone can be a photojournalist, there is a very pessimistic view on social documentary photography. Through this presentation, I will investigate if social documentary photography is still alive today. Does it have a future? And if so, what does it consist of? First, I'll examine the history of social documentary photography and how it has transformed. Then, I will highlight a couple of case studies of modern photographers who shed light onto its present state. Finally, I will end with an outlook on where this photography is heading. Social documentary photography dates all the way back to the mid-1800s. Photographers such as Hill and Adamson documented images ranging from the fetid living conditions in slums, famines, and wars. All these photos raised awareness and some money for charity, but none of them had provoked lawful changes until Jacob Riis. Riis's photographic project, How the Other Half Lives, looked into the appalling slum living conditions. Through these photographs, Riis was able to motivate President Theodore Roosevelt to pass the Tenement House Act of 1901, which created housing reform for the tenements. And similarly, Lewis Hines started to photograph children working in mines, mills, and fields, because he believed if people saw the horrible conditions that children were working in, that there would be a movement for change. In the end, he was right, since Congress shortly after passed the Keating-Owens Act of 1916, which established child labor laws. Continuing further, through the 1930s and 1940s, the Farm Security Administration hired photographers such as Dorothy Lange and Gordon Parks to document the lives of poor rural Americans to gather support for Roosevelt's reform programs. However, in the 1950s and 60s, social documentary photography declined due to the introduction of the television, and during Reagan's era, Americans did not want to be reminded of the inequities of the world. This decline continued until the internet opened up a world of new opportunities for social activism photography. Yet there are still questions regarding its vitality and effectiveness today. An important part to discovering if social activism photography is still alive today is to examine a few modern social documentary photographers and what impacts, if any, they have had. First, I will start with Donna Ferrato, who focuses on a very serious topic, domestic abuse. Her life in photography forever changed when she witnessed a man hitting his wife right before her eyes. To fully understand domestic abuse, Ferrato has stayed with the victims and their abusers. She has stayed in women's shelters, and she has accompanied police officers rushing to domestic abuse conflicts. Through all of these experiences, she has taken photos and used them to create Living with the Enemy, a book that has significantly affected the problem it documents, helping to change laws and establish and finance domestic violence shelters throughout the country.
And my pictures have helped change laws to protect women from domestic violence. They were shown to governors and to judges and to legislators and to activists. My photographs have really helped to open people's eyes. And although my photographs didn't eliminate domestic violence, they did bring the epidemic to public consciousness.
Ferrato has not only exposed the world of domestic violence, but she has also started her own non-profit organization, Domestic Abuse Awareness, to raise money for women's shelters through her photography. Donna Ferrato is a great example of how photography can be used to both raise awareness and money for a social cause. Continuing further, Ed Cashy is a photojournalist whose photography has also raised money and awareness. His work ranges from socio-political issues in Ireland to Iraq, but I'm going to focus on his photographs in the Niger Delta and a photo he took of a woman with breast cancer. Cashy worked with National Geographic in 2007 to publish a story and photos of the impact of oil in the poor Niger Delta. After it was issued, Cashy received a phone call from an anonymous woman who wanted a print of this photo, a boy carrying a freshly killed goat. Unaware of her intentions, Cashy sent her a copy, and this woman ended up searching for the boy in the photo. She's now paying for his education. It took just one photo of a concerned member of society to forever change this boy's life. Furthermore, when New York Times published Cashy's photo of a woman with breast cancer who had no health insurance in Dallas, $50,000 came pouring in as donations soon after it was published. A photo can make a difference. Finally, there is Jonathan Tornovic, founder of Foundation Wanda. In the Rwandan genocide, rape was used as a weapon of war against the Tutsi woman. And even though the genocide is long gone, the women are still haunted from the past. To show the world what these women are still going through, Tornovic photographed these women and their children born of rape. In simply publishing these photos in Stern magazine in Germany, in Telegraph in London, he received over $250,000 in donation. To this day, Foundation Wanda, which raises money for the education of these children born of rape, has raised more than $1 million, and its photography and photojournalism are the backbone to this movement. Overall, the positive effects of Donna Ferrato's, Ed Cashy's, and Jonathan Tornovic's photo have shown us how photography truly can promote activism, but moreover, how photographs can be integrated into foundations and organizations to create change. Nevertheless, there are limitations to social documentary photography, especially since many of the photographers are commissioned on these projects. They must abide by the rules and standards of their commissioners. For example, O'Reilly was not allowed to publish his photos of soldiers in Afghanistan putting on clean, white, non-military issued socks, since the military unit he was with did not approve. Also, videos and other forms of multimedia are becoming more prominent. Cameras are not as exclusive anymore. Anyone can document with a simple cell phone, and newspaper sales have been decreasing with the introduction of online news. With a traditional mindset, social documentary photography would seem like it is dying. However, as seen in the case studies, this photography is thriving and creating awareness and activism. It contradicts what the critics predicted. What sets these case studies apart is that these social activist photographers are not solely taking the photos and expecting the public to create change, as in the 1900s. Just going out there and getting the story isn't enough anymore, Tornovic says. In fact, activism goes beyond the photographs, Donna Ferrato says. These photographers are all involved in starting organizations, foundations, multimedia films, presenting speeches and presentations, and much more in conjunction with their photographs. And it is this innovation that is keeping social documentary photography alive. Look at these photographs. For these individuals, the photograph itself does not give them food to eat. It does not protect them from others. No, these photos stir emotions and awaken others, but it is the non-profits, the donations, the collective action that make a difference in their lives. Yes, photographs are powerful, but if we want to change the world and save the future of social activism photography, we must start thinking of photographs as a starting point, not a final destination.